Paltrocast. Sebastian, the new record, Child Within the Man. For us, it's a new record because it's not out yet. For you, you actually did the work. When did you actually rap on it?
Well, we rapped on it when Robert Ludwig finished his mastering of it,
Sure.
because he really put the icing on the cake for sure. He's a complete legend, and he makes every record that he works on sound like butter. And my album sounds like hot butter on a hot butter popcorn in a movie theater watching Star Wars in '77. That's what my record sounds like. But I just thought of that. The way I write music is I'm always keeping a file on my cell phone. If I have a cool title, I like to start with a title, and I have hundreds, if not thousands, of titles and little lyrical ideas, a verse idea or rhyme idea or a concept idea. And then a guitar player like Steve Stevens or John Five or Orianthi or Devin Bronson, I'll say to them, I always say the same thing. I'm like, send me some riffs. Just send me some riffs. I don't need it to be a completed song. I just need a riff. And to me, a good riff is always a good riff. Like Monkey Business, I worked on that riff with Snake. That's always going to be a great riff. Youth Gone Wild, a great riff's a great riff. So I don't need a completed song. I prefer to start out with just basic riffs, and then I'll go through my lyric ideas and I'll say, what does this riff sound like or remind me of? And I'll put whatever lyric I think it feels like with that. A perfect example of that is Kicking and Screaming, the song. I heard that riff and I had that title. I didn't realize that Will Ferrell had a movie called that.
He did, yes. One of the Apatow movies that people don't really talk about is Kicking and Screaming.
Yeah, and when my album come out and I saw that on HBO, I go, fuck, damn it, I'm deaf.
Well, you actually answered about 5 of my questions right there, because I was going to ask, it's such a riff-heavy album. Do you ever sing the guitar riff or come up with some of the guitar riff? Because yes, you're working with John and Steve and Orianthi and Devin and all that, but have you in the past ever heard the guitar riff in your head and sang it to your collaborator?
The perfect example of that is the song Slave to the Grind, which I brought that riff to the band. And I was walking around my house in Freehold, New Jersey.
Oh, Freehold.
And we opened up the first Skid Row tour with a song called Making a Mess, which I co-wrote that song too with them. And I liked that song, but it wasn't quite heavy or fast enough. I wanted a song to start the concert with that was going to rip your head off. And I was walking around my house and I was listening to Van Halen 2, and I was listening to the song Dead or Alive, which I just sang with Michael Anthony at Eddie Trunk's event. But but the riff was like, and I was like, I need a fast tune. And I just had one of those little dictaphones, and all I did was I went, and I sped up the riff of DOA and changed it a little bit. And I brought it into rehearsal the next day. And I go, Rob, do this. And then I go, and Rachel goes, it sounds like a grind. And he goes, slave to the grind. And that's how that happened. And, that's that riff. Yeah, that happens. But to me, it's like the best idea wins the argument, because all I want is to make an album that is incredible, that you want to listen to. Like some people I'll read online, you didn't write I Remember You, and I'm like, okay, So going by that logic, if I hear a song that somebody wrote that I love and I don't need to change it, should I just change it so I can put my name on it?
Well,
Or
yes,
should I
if you
just
want to do
leave it?
the
Should I
game,
should I leave it alone and read all your stupid fucking comments? Like I'll just leave it alone because Elvis Presley didn't write Heartbreak Hotel. I don't think that people preferred the Carl Perkins version. It's like fuck like it's hilarious. But I don't just change a song so I can get my name on it. If the song's done, it's done. But if it needs help, I will try my best to think of how to make it a great song. That's what I've always done.
to rudely interrupt you right there, the publishing term that I've heard co-writers use is change a word, get a third in terms of the publishing.
Well, I
So,
wish somebody would have told me that when I was 19 years old and I changed way more than a
yeah,
third in the song 18 in Life when I put in a whole nother vocal range that didn't exist that
yeah.
separated it from all the other kind of songs of that time. I mean, I was only a little kid. I didn't know anybody would like it.
Is it too early in the day for a compliment? Are you maxed out on compliments, or can you take one or two of them?
Let me see. Let me see. Yes, go right ahead. I'm free for compliments.
Okay, so I promise this is going to swing into a compliment. So when a lot of people think of Sebastian Bach, they just go, "Oh yeah, that guy listens to nothing but Kiss and Van Halen all day long." But a
Mm.
longtime follower of yours will know about your classical background, your time on Broadway. I saw you in that Jeff Buckley documentary,
Yeah,
The Last Hard Men. That was an adventurous kind of musical
right.
journey for you as well. Have you always been kind of an alternative guy that's been unfairly pigeonholed to metal?
I would say the short answer is yes, definitely. When I was 13, 12, I was a total metalhead, but I also loved bands like Japan,
Mhm.
David Sylvian. My dad took me to see David Bowie at on the Glass Spider tour. Let's
Wow.
Dance. We were in like the fifth row for Bowie. Um, I'll never forget that. I went to see Al Di Meola, Paco de Lucia, and John McLaughlin on tour with the opener Steve Morse when I was maybe 12 years old. Me and my friends from Lakefield College School.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know any other 12-year-olds that went to see Al Di Meola. Like, I
I
mean,
don't either.
but I was totally into it. One of my favorite records was Tour de Force live, Al Di Meola with Race with the Devil on a Spanish highway. If anybody's never heard that, you want to hear some fucking metal, but people don't consider that metal. But to me, it sounds like metal. Like like it's crazy. So it's this old cliche, the old saying, Charles Mingus, there's only two kinds of music, good and bad.
Mhm.
You know, I like some country. I like Willie Nelson. I love Willie Nelson.
Mhm.
I love Steely Dan. I love the Eagles. I really, really love yacht rock. I
Sure.
listen because of the production and the smooth, luxurious vocals and the the tanned Corinthian leather and the
I see.
luxurious chest hair. But I love yacht rock because of the production, because
Mhm.
of the singing, the vocals. I can never get tired of a song like Africa. I can't get tired of it because it's done so excellent, you know? I appreciate how those albums are crafted. And my project for Child Within the Man, I tried to make a record that could have come from the year 1978. I know that's impossible,
Well, no, I
but
see what you're saying. The
yeah,
acoustic interlude that we get
yeah.
early into the record, you go, okay, there's a Judas Priest early thing. And then
Hmm.
there's other things you go, okay, that's along the lines of Slave to the Grind. Then there's other things that go, no, that's kind of new metal. So it's all
Yeah,
over the place in terms of your influences, I would say.
right. It's Sebastian Bach 2024 style. This is what you get.
Well, continuing with the compliments right there, you had to basically reinvent your career on the fly in a very interesting way because you started off with Rolling Stone, MTV hits, mainstream, and then you evolved to not only Broadway, hosting things, guesting on other people's projects, reality shows, etc. When Gilmore Girls, of course, that's a huge, huge part of your career as well.
Yep.
When did you kind of realize that you weren't just heavy metal singer guy, but rather also actor, host, etc.?
Wow, that's a great question. Well, when I realized I was an actor was Jekyll and Hyde
Hmm.
because I didn't have a choice.
Yet my old boss Mark, who managed Twisted Sister, told me the story of that one. That how you got the offer at a time that you really needed it, but it turned out to be a huge career blessing.
Absolute. That's a very accurate statement. Um, but uh, I got that gig because of my singing voice, and I was on the road with my solo band at that time. And when I went and auditioned, Broadway vocals for men are usually in the alto range or bass range, like "This is the moment,"
Yeah.
and that is so easy for me. That's like talking. That's like talking.
Yeah.
So I learned the songs and I sang them, and it was completely simple for me. And the director at my audition and the musical guy playing the piano, he goes, okay. He goes, why don't we raise this song up 3 keys? He goes up, burr, 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 burr. He goes, why don't we try it up here? And I go, okay. And it went from "This is the moment," it went from that to like "This is the moment," and I blew the room away. I fucking gave them some Rob Halford, Sebastian Bach, Journey and they're not used to that on Broadway. They're not used to high male singing metal range. You don't do that. So that's how I got the gig, by singing like that. But then
Mhm.
they were all freaked out. They go, this guy he's not an actor. What the fuck are we doing? So the director of that play was Robin Phillips, one of the top Broadway directors. Robin Phillips was from England, and he played Robin Hood in the movie in the 50s as a child, and then became one of the biggest, top, most respected Broadway actors in history. Stratford upon Avon in Canada, which I used to go to when I was at Lakefield, actually. But
Mhm.
he directed that, Stratford, and they put me with him for a month rehearsals, 6 days a week. I was there, all day, and he whipped my ass into shape, and was very strict, and not he wasn't like my buddy. Like, he worked me
Yeah.
and rehearsed me over and over and over, and taught me what the fuck I was doing up there to like, I'm 6'4". I'm a big guy. He taught me how to walk on the stage without making noise. And I didn't know when I was first in the play, I'm walking around, bang, 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 bang. And he goes, no, no, no. I go, what? He goes, I have to teach you how to walk. I go, what? And
So
like,
much
that was
for
the
stage
whole,
presence in commanding arenas and festivals and stadiums. So much for that.
right, but me walking around like that is distracting from
Yeah.
the rest, because we're telling a story. So I can't be walking around like I'm at Madison Square Garden doing Youth Gone Wild. So can you imagine them trying to teach me to not distract? But that's all I know how to do is get up there and lead the crowd and stuff. So there was all kinds of stuff like that that they taught me, and it was one of the highlights of my career. But Child Within the Man, the record, is another total highlight along those lines. And a million views on the first video, a million people never saw Jekyll and Hyde. So this is a whole nother highlight.
Wow. Well, two more questions or topics for you, and then I let you go. And neither of them have to do with your excellent new record or the success of What Do I Got to Lose. You just keep saying those names, so that way the SEO factors all that in, and you know, keep getting the hits on Child Within the Man. But the first one is a lot of people became a big fan of yours because of that VH1 reality show where Damnocracy came out of that. Did you guys ever record anything after that show, or did it all end with the show?
Well, I don't think a lot of people became my fan because of that show.
I personally do.
You do? Why?
I do, because it showed off your personality in a different kind of way. So the people who watched Forever Wild saw you in a different way than they did on this one, I would say. They saw the more mature side of you.
Well, they saw the more drunk side of me.
Well, that too, but
Well,
I thought it was an enjoyable show as a fan.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I don't even know what to think about that show. Like it was very hard for me to watch that. I'll never ever drink ever again on a TV show. That's a little drinking goes a long way when you're shooting a television show.
Well, it wasn't your fault. It was free wine in the house.
Yeah.
I wasn't going the drinking end of that. I was going in the legitimate way of going, that was a possible platform for you to launch a band, but I wasn't sure if you actually recorded anything, or it's just, this is a band for show and that was that.
The only thing that we recorded was a demo for the song Take It Back, which I did on my laptop in a Cubase recording program that I have somewhere on that old laptop, but I don't even think Ted Nugent, I think he did a rhythm guitar track on there. But that was me basically and Evan Seinfeld. But there is one song. Yeah. It's called Take It Back. Yeah.
So Wikipedia is wrong in saying that the band went from 2007 to 2010.
Wikipedia is bullshit. The one time years ago, I went to Wikipedia and put in my name, Sebastian Bach, and it was a picture of Johnny Solinger on the Wikipedia. I'm like, you know what? This is the last time I'm going to Wikipedia. Like, if they can't even get that right, like, wow.
Well, the last question that I have, a serious point of curiosity, and you brought up DOA from Van Halen 2 before, is there's a story about you riding on an airplane seated next to David Lee Roth in first class on the way to that festival.
100%. 100%.
What happens when you're sitting next to David Lee Roth for 12 hours? Does he ever stop talking?
What a great memory, man. And God, that's incredible. Oh man. Okay, so I sometimes play in a corporate band called Kings of Chaos, which is run by Matt Sorum.
Great band.
Yeah, so that was a Kings of Chaos gig in Sydney, Australia. And in Kings of Chaos that day was me, Steve Stevens, Duff McKagan on bass, Matt Sorum on drums. And we opened up for Aerosmith and Van Halen at one show. The original Van Halen, well, no, with Wolfgang, Van Halen, Aerosmith, and Kings of Chaos. And then before us was Jimmy Barnes.
Yeah.
Who's one of the biggest Australian singers. So it was a very weird gig, man. Very strange gig. On the way home from the gig, I get on my plane flight from Sydney, Australia to Los Angeles is an extremely long flight. Uh, and I look behind me, and two rows behind me is Diamond David Lee Roth in a seat all by himself. And I started watching movies. I was so nervous and freaked out because I'm such a fan of Dave. And I remember I watched the story of Pentagram, the band Pentagram. Fucking, there's a documentary, and I watched that on the plane. And when that was over, I said to myself, I go, fuck it, man. I go, I can't do this. I can't pretend that David Lee Roth is not sitting behind me. So I stood up and I go, hey, Dave, please, man, can we get, he goes, hey, Baz, what's up, man? Have a seat, man. Have a seat right here, Sebastian. And I've partied with him before,
Right.
but I was totally sober on this flight. Wasn't drinking or anything. Dave was reading a book by Tom Clancy, some spy novel. I'm trying to paint a picture for you. He was sitting there with a paperback by Tom Clancy, because I was taking all this in, and that was going to keep him company for the whole plane flight. So when I sat down, we ordered coffee. I ordered coffee, and we spent the whole flight talking and laughing. We got a little too loud. Dave's laughter is loud. He's like, hey, Baz. And then I started getting loud, and me and David Lee Roth together got so loud that the stewardess came over and said, could you guys pipe it down a little bit? And that happened. I mean, imagine me and Dave together. There's a picture on my Instagram somewhere from that plane flight of me and Dave. And, there's a part in David Lee Roth's book, if you ever read it, where
Yes.
he tells a story of being bullied at school. And he tells the story of going home and being so hurt that he's on his porch, and he says, I'm never going to have a real friend ever again. That's in his book, that he made that choice when he was like 13 or 12. And I wanted to be Dave's friend because he treated me like that. He was my bud. Like, he was always so nice and funny to me and cool. And he gave me his cell phone number. And as soon as I got home from that plane flight, I was texting him, but let's hang out, man. I'll be your buddy. And I never really heard back from him. So I guess, I don't know. But when he gave me his phone number, I had it in my brain that we were going to be best buddies. So Dave, if you're reading this interview, give me a call, man. Let's hang out. Let's smoke a joint and listen to some vinyl records. I know you would like that.
Paltrocast.